All right, let's see what's going on here. Get a sound check. Looks like you guys can hear me. You guys should be able to see me. You guys have, yeah, everything's there. All right, good. So if anybody was here the other day, we were working on reading research, but I decided to make it a little more fun for you guys too. So the top left there will have the Socratic Linux running. If anybody wants to do kind of Socratic Linux and talk about that stuff, we can do that as well. I'm still going to be working mostly on research stuff and pulling stuff up for my dissertation work, but for people that want to kind of follow along and do some of this other stuff, you guys can do that. I do need to probably get the little streamer bot up, because then I can at least watch chat while we're sitting here talking. Nope. Pull this up. I can at least see if there's any chats going on. Make sure everything's going good there. And let me pull this up here. All right. Go to chat. Pull the chat up over here. Oh man. That's some old chat going on over there. I wonder if I can wipe that. All right, anyways, let's get this out of the way here. So that is, yeah, that's good. And the Socratic Linux will be running up in the top left corner. So if people want to answer that, let me test. Make sure that I'm getting messages on both sides. Looks like Twitch is connected, but YouTube is not. So let me go see if I can get that YouTube stuff going real quick too. Hold on. I don't know why it's not connected to YouTube. Should be. Platforms, YouTube. Oh, looks like I gotta sign back in. That's interesting. Get me signed in real quick, and then hopefully I can get connected on both. Sure. There we go. Let me do one more test here. That came through on that side and that side. Okay, good, good, good. So it showed up on both sides. Good. That's what I want. I just want to make sure chat's connected, so while we're sitting here hanging out, I can at least see when you guys are trying to talk to me. I think that's perfectly acceptable while I'm doing all this other stuff and maybe making some labs up and maybe just grabbing some notes and whatever else we're doing. But again, if anybody's got any questions, let me know. We're hanging out. I'm working on research and stuff. We've got a Discord that you guys can go hang out in if you want. All kinds of good stuff going on up here in Discord, right? A couple of things. I got to actually make some fixes real quick. So let's go up here to events, and I need to let everybody know. So there's a Bash study group today. Hopefully they're running that. That's in about an hour and a half. Security engineering is going today. It should be unit 10. But the automation course, I'm going to cancel a few of these events, specifically the one today, and then out through the end of this year. So I'm going to let everybody know. I'll drop this in the chat here in a second. But I'm also going to just get rid of these ones, because basically till the end of the year, we're all going to be busy, and I can't make this. I can't do this enough to make it worthwhile. So, oh shoot, what's happened here? What have I done? All right, it moved down here now. So let's cancel this one. Cancel event. Go. And then come down here. And we'll leave the 3rd. So January 3rd, we'll be back to it. So that'll be kind of useful, I think, for that. Okay. So we'll do the security engineering course today, though, because that's before my big... I got a big pre-Christmas party that I run, and I do it earlier in the year. Because if you ever try to get everybody around for Christmas, like all the different families and friends, it's kind of hard. So we do our pre-Christmas party. We do it at the beginning of the month. So I'll get some pictures for you guys here. People that are interested in seeing that. Anyways, automation course study group, people will probably cancel that for a little bit. Writer's room, probably cancel that for a bit. Late night bash study. I haven't really seen people go into this, so we'll probably cancel this for now in general, and then we'll maybe come back around to that in the new year, get people going to that. But we're definitely going to do this security engineering course. This will be the last one, so really today is the last day of security engineering. It'll be unit 10. So I do actually need to do a couple of things with that then. So let me drop a chat in here and say unit 10 of security engineering is going today. That's the last week. That's the last one of the course. We're going to pause automation until the 3rd of January, and then finish that all up. And then what else do we need? I need to tell the guys. Let's see. Let's go drop a couple of course discussions, because I didn't drop. We had the security 8 stuff, but I didn't drop unit 9 in there yet. So let me drop unit 9 real quick, just so everybody has it. Security engineering, unit 9. Here's the worksheet. So the discussion, let's make the discussion post 1. So new post, and it'll be unit security, unit 9 discussion post 1. So this was for last week. So I'm putting this up for last week still. And it'll be for the security course. And the way it reads is read the security services section of this. So this is NIST 800-57, which is specifically key management, right? So how do we rotate keys? And then how do the topics align with what you already know? And then read the 800-52, which is implementation of TLS, which is similar to what we had talked about. Well, actually, it was Unit 9 was certificate in key madness. And then it was to break these things down. So I'm going to post that. So they've got the Unit 9 security discussion. And then we get rid of this, and we'll do the other security discussion. Apparently, oh, I did both of them as one, unfortunately. So I'm just going to say this is both posts. I'll just fix it here and say this is Unit 9. Post 1 and 2. We'll just say combined. Sure, whatever, right? Clear as mud. And then let's go check to see if I did a discussion for 10. I don't remember if I did or not. So there were 2 discussion posts for 10, so I'll get those in, which are today's posts. And Unit 10, so the security, Unit 10 discussion post 1. And then this is basically for them to capture all the concepts that we're talking about this week. There's a whole bunch of stuff. What are the new topics or concepts? What was completely new? And what are some things that they've heard about before? And then my thoughts on this is probably adding to these courses. We're going to go, going forward, we're going to add in some capabilities around some, like, probably like, we'll do like maybe 1 or 2 topical, we'll do like a day. Let me drop this in here too as well. Say security, maybe like a day intensive type thing, and I think that might help people out a little. Let me just see if I can do this a few. Right there. Okay. I just want that to be a little more organized, and then this will be security course. Boom. All right, so I think we have those pretty well done. This one needs a tag too, so hold on. Let's go back in here, and then we're going to edit this one, and we'll put a tag to it, which is the security course. So then when people look for it, I'll say security course discussions up. Security course, which is for Unit 9 and 10 are up as well. So people that are interested in that kind of stuff, look, this is, for you guys that are wanting to better yourselves in the different engineering spaces and playing around with this stuff in different ways, you guys can get in there and do that. Okay, so I got the discussion posts up. Those things look good. It looks like I've updated this with the events that we're doing. So there is Bash study group today. Hopefully Colchis is around to run it. If he's not for any reason, because I know a lot of people on the East Coast seem to be a little under the weather, he can, if he's not running it, maybe somebody can step up. If nobody is around, I'll probably hop down in there and maybe talk with you guys while we're hanging out. Today we will do the security engineering course. It'll be the last course it'll be the last of the security engineering stuff. And if you guys want to see what that's going to look like, I will give you guys this is the quick rundown of what this looks like right here. Let me get this other stuff out of the way. Get that out of the way. Okay. And the way that this one's going to run is kind of like this. Let's see. Yeah. And, you know what? Let's clear that up. Just so we don't have that, because this was from the other discussion. That was when we did it the first time. 10th class meeting, nothing special. Last week we did key management and TLS, but obviously I just put the talk up right now. I put those discussions up like currently. Hey, how's it going? Oh, my voice is low? Maybe I was just whispering a little bit. Is it better now? Because it looks like it's pumping on my side. It looks like it's pretty high. Maybe I was kind of whispering a little bit like that, but no, it should be. I mean, if I'm talking with my big boy voice, hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So this is so that was last week. This week is journal topics and thinking about the stuff that we're due, and then proof of skills. How do we kind of prove that we're ready to do this? Like, how do we show, like, because that's always a question, right? If we go here, how do we prove that we have these skills? Like, if we're going to show this to somebody, if we're going to put it on our resume, and we're going to tell somebody, I understand the STIG standards. So STIG viewer here, I'll pop this up. You know, I pull this thing up and I tell somebody, hey, I know how to harden your system to a certain standard. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be able to pull this up and pull up Red Hat Linux and talk through the STIGs. Maybe I can't. Yeah, Hayes, I think it's normally because I sound off with my big boy voice, and I wasn't doing that. I was kind of like whispering a little bit. I was kind of like this, so that was probably, yeah. So no, if I sound off, you guys can hear me. But real quick, just thinking about this, I can't obviously pull up and talk to all of these 452. I think there's 460 STIGs. The STIGs change all the time, but I can't just talk to these in the meeting. So what I can do instead, right? How would I answer if I asked you a quick rundown of how you would secure a Linux system? Well, you may just kind of go through like the security engineering course. You may say, well, I'd harden the Linux box. I'd harden the network connection. I would harden the way that things access the system over the network. I would allow users in through a trust model. And if you say, well, where would I find all that? Well, we have this, right? This is up, if I go over here, we have all of these pieces inside of, I think this was the security engineering one here. Yeah. So I would build the system to a certain set of standards and compliance. Those could be CIS benchmarks or STIG. I know how to do both of those because I've done them. I can secure the network connection both with STIGs and also just by hardening the system with a local firewall. I can access and allow users to connect through lightweight directory authentication protocol and other ways to come off of like a Windows system or that kind of stuff. Oh, that's a good question. Fighting Rooster said, hey, what do you think is a better career, Linux engineer or network engineer, and pros or cons? Well, so, okay, that's actually a really good question. I like that. Let me move this up, too, by the way, just because you guys probably can't see this as good. You can't see questions and stuff there. But the question over from Fighting Rooster was, what do I think is better career? I got into systems. I got into this work and Linux and systems engineering in 2000, actually. I made a decision when I was in the Army. And I became a network engineer, right? I was classically trained. I got a CCNA in 2002. I was just an infantry guy running around with a gun. I got out. Well, it's a rifle, right? And then I got out and I went to, work at a school district, and I became a network engineer with them. I was a LAN tech at first, just moving around computers because that's where everybody started. But I became their network engineer I did all their wireless and all their firewalls. And I'll be honest, like, networking was boring to me. And what I mean by that isn't that it wasn't like good rewarding work. It wasn't that it wasn't fun and troubleshooting and building stuff wasn't challenging. Yes, that was sure. But most of the time I would just sit around bored. Hey, Xshenyam, how's it going? I'm answering a question from YouTube right now, which was network or Linux engineer. So that being said, I'm a classically trained network engineer. I did network engineering early on. I even went over to GoDaddy and ran their network operations in early 2006. That was like Network Operations Center, and I did a lot of that stuff. And then I really moved over and started doing Linux heavily. Like Linux was really my focus. Even at the school district, I did a lot of Linux projects and introduced that. And that was, so I left the school district in 2006. So I was doing Linux with them even before I went over to GoDaddy. And to answer the base question, for me, systems work, systems engineering, system design and building is way more interesting for me than networking. Networking for me was like once things worked, they just worked, and I didn't like really have to troubleshoot them or anything. Everything just worked. The only scary things were when was doing, big network deployments or big changes, and that was rare unless I was building, unless I was doing something. So most of my stuff worked, at least as far as that goes. I think network engineering isn't hard to get into, but I do think it's one of those ones that's more formal. Whereas with like Linux engineers, if you can just get somebody to give you a shot as a Linux admin, you can just hang out as a Linux admin long enough that people will eventually move you over into a Linux engineering type role, where you're building stuff and that kind of stuff. So where I'm going with that is, I think Linux is still a little more of like the wild, wild west, where I tell you guys all the time, you don't need a bunch of degrees, you don't need a bunch of certs. I think you can still walk in and wow a company with your knowledge, and get into Linux. I do. My younger brother's an example of it. He's been just doing Linux and then now OpenShift for like the last 8 years, and he does side work. He does he's an infrastructure engineer 6, which is the highest they do at his particular company. Unless they want to make him an architect, they can't pay him anymore in that space, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and Fisherman, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, a lot of times studying networking, like you have to do so much in a lab that behaves differently than what you really build, that yeah, a lot of people don't like that, right? Even if I were to pull up like GNS3 and we were to go do like some Linux labs, you'd be like, okay, so this is the way all these commands you're showing me are all the ways that we're going to actually do it. And I'd be like, well, actually, it's mostly software-defined networking. This is just the way that we first set it up. And you'd be like, so I just have to learn that just for the CCNA and just for my certs? And I'd be like, yes. A lot of teeth sucking, right? A lot of, just kind of like, let me try to explain it to you. So anyways, to answer that question, Fighting Rooster, in a roundabout way, I prefer Linux engineering myself, systems engineering. I do a lot more interesting stuff, at least as far as I'm concerned, on the Linux side of things. I get to work with different stuff. I tell people all the time, I go into work and I don't know what I'm going to be doing for that day. Oh, sure, yeah, it's on a big high-performance compute system. I know where I'm going to be crawling around. But if I'm actually in a physical data center, which I sometimes am, I don't know if I'm doing that for the day. If I'm working over on my tape backup system, or if I'm doing, big storage in Lustre, I have all these component tools that I go and I touch and do all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. My thoughts on it are, I'm a Linux engineer for the last 20-something years because that's kind of where I chose to stay. But I am classically trained on networking, and I can tell you, like, oh, it's interesting. I think there's good stuff. I still teach networking. Like, I have a class on Wednesday nights that's basically CCNA like levels. Well, it's all of the CCNA levels, but we don't focus on the cert. It's all the concepts from the cert, though, and I make the students do a lot of command line in there and stuff to learn. Get experience. Yeah, you do typically nowadays. So back in the day, you used to be able to just walk on, and well, actually, no, the CCNP did always require the CCNA. Now that I think about it, but you used to be able to just walk on back in the day and take a CCIE if you wanted to. I never went that long into it to kind of go there. Yeah, and labs really don't reflect what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day. Your day-to-day might just be checking, making sure everything's up, making sure everything's backed up. Networks are pretty stable in the big scheme of things. If you set up a network, you're just going to hang out and watch the network until it's time to plan for the next change, I do a lot. So a lot of the stuff I do in Linux, is the same stuff I've been doing for 20-something years. It's just doing it on different systems, doing a lot of automation. I kind of, like if you said, Scott, narrow it down to like the two things that have been successful in your career, I would say for sure building Linux systems, because I build a lot of them, people use me to build stuff. One, and then two would be automation of those builds and that kind of stuff. So like as you get into doing Linux more and more, you'll see like little proclivities and ways that you can do things like over and over again, kind of repeatability and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so this is but security engineering is going today. This will be the last of the courses, and we're going to go through all of the different weeks, and then we're going to get into a recap and final project. So one of the things that I'm doing for unit 10 is all the previous sessions and tying them back into the industry concepts that they touch. So when you look at this, I'll move this over a little bit so it's not behind there. Socratic Linux is running in the top left corner in case anybody wants to just ask themselves questions and think about Linux and that kind of stuff. If anybody has any questions about the Socratic Linux up there, let me know, and I'll try to make that clear as mud if there's any questions on that stuff. But anyways, and then this is what we're doing. The goal of the course was never to align to anyone's security standard or certification, but rather balance the theory versus the application. So we did a lot of application of stuff in our security course, right, in a Linux enterprise environment. And then this review that we're going to do is going towards the Security Plus exam. And that exam was chosen for a wide sweeping general nature and standardized terminology, right? A lot of people, the U.S. government deals heavily with Security Plus or CISSP. And while I have a CISSP, I didn't want to try to like make this a getting ready for the CISSP course. That's not what the goal of the security engineering course we were running is. Okay. So the goals of the course was engineers are engineers regardless of what tools or outcomes are sought. We apply the rigor of our processes to solve problems and build sound solutions. So here's a simple communication model. I've showed you guys this many times. Anybody that knows me knows that I've been challenging my college students for 17 years, and I've been challenging you guys as long as we've been doing this like this, right? Here's the simple communication model. You've got a sender, a receiver, a message, a medium, and noise. These 5 components must be there for communication to exist. You got a sender, which is often the TX transmit, the receiver, and the sender encodes a message over some protocol to transmit with a medium, and it's always affected by noise. We've never found a noiseless system. We've never been able to completely eliminate noise. Oh my gosh, Robodom's here. How's it going, Robodom? Man, it's been a while. Hopefully everything's going good. Hopefully you guys are having a good Christmas. Robodom, by the way, real quick, you'll like this. I'm doing a big Christmas party tonight. It's a pre-Christmas. It's the Champagne pre-Christmas party. Did they get my name right? They got my name right. Nice. And we're gonna go, man. I have the game truck coming. Some of you guys, have you guys all seen the game truck before? Let me see if I can. I'll pull this up for you guys that haven't seen this, because this is well, one, I think it's funny, and two, let me get this. Where is that? I think it's over here. Yeah, if you guys have never seen, it's actually called the game trailer. Phoenix. That's fine. This is what the game trailer out here looks like. And yeah, epic game trailer. They bring out this big old game trailer, and this is actually what it looks like when they put it in my front yard area, and then the kids can dance outside, and then inside is so this is, let's see, this is outside. They have the little dance party. All the kids stand outside and dance. And then inside, if they look inside, it's all these games, and then all the kids, come on, turn so we can see where the kids sit. Kids sit over here. This is what the game trailer looks like. This one's a little more wide open, and then let's see if they have, that's the guy that runs it a lot. When the one that's coming from my house won't look like this time because they ran out of these ones. I'm gonna actually have the game. It's like a bus, so the kids are busy. Yeah, Robodom, you're good, man. We don't take attendance around here, so you're welcome to come or go. But this is what it normally looks like, and then we're gonna have, it's almost like a bus tonight, and the kids love it, man. And then I love it because of this. This is the best reason. If you guys ever throw parties, let me tell you something about parties, because I'm a big fan of having a good party. You feed everybody up front, right? So 5 to 6 tonight, we'll have people come in, they'll eat, they'll hang out. Then we open up the garages. We open up both sides of the garage, and I've got the drift trikes, so people can go out and ride the drift trikes around. If you guys have never seen the drift trikes, they look like this. This is in our Discord. drift trikes look like this. And some of you guys have seen this one before. This was a few years back. So this was 2022. There was a big rainstorm out here. You guys ever seen, some of you guys have seen this one. What's going on here? It's like, it's all slow. Yeah, Robdom, it's a gaming bus, though. Oh my gosh. Do I gotta download this and rerun it? Anyways. This is what they look like when everybody's on them. That's Michael Pessa.
I'm going to officially say as a dad, I think this is a bad idea. But
Okay. So this is what they look like in case you guys are wondering. Hold on.
I'm going to officially say as a dad, I think this is a bad idea. But I'm still going to record it as a dad. Go, Kale, go. It doesn't matter. You're about to get super wet.
Cut.
And here's the storm. Woo!
Oh,
He
jeez.
wants to go out and, oh my God, I can't even stand right there. All right, get back in here, dude. It's way too stormy out there.
He was completely soaked.
It's pretty bad, guys.
He was completely soaked just from that little bit of being out in there. That was kind of funny. But yeah, that's my son riding it. And this was apparently Anderson Silva showed at my gym back in 2022. So if you guys remember Anderson Silva, yeah, those drift trikes are super fun, and people have memed me up from that too, which is kind of funny. There's a bunch of them. All right, anyways, none of that matters right now. You guys should go look through some of the old shit on our Discord. You guys that hang out, teach them Taekwondo or something. That's funny. All right. So that's anyways. The goals of the course were around engineering to engineer properly, and the model that we use. There's so many models. I mean, the simple communication model applies to all types of things. In fact, I may even apply this in part of my dissertation. I might even use this a little bit because this is, the way that things kind of communicate. And then we're talking about bottlenecking things with bastions and that kind of stuff. Taekwondo, that's funny. So the goals of this course, this was a thing that I kind of brought up, and you guys that have been around have heard me mention this a lot, right? For people that don't know that I'm insane, you get to find that out. But Alice asked the Cheshire cat, who was sitting in a tree, "What road do I take?" And the cat said, "Where do you want to go?" And Alice answered, "I don't know." Then said the cat, "It doesn't really matter," or "It really doesn't matter, does it?" And the answer to that too, and this is, when we finish up all the security engineering stuff and look at all of these things here, is we were talking about like how you would get the job and how you would explain that these things. And what I would say is it's like this is just scratching the surface. All of these roles here are the types of things that systems engineers do. We build servers to a standard. We secure them on the network. We add user access or block user access. Sometimes we do that through a bastion or an air gap or a network or some type of disparate system, right? And then we update and patch them for vulnerabilities, and then we monitor the logs, and then we alert on things, and then we check for configuration drift and make sure that our systems are adhering to a configuration management database standard to minimize risk and adhere to all these other things that security is going to come at us with, right? And then certificate and key madness is kind of the modern way of X509 is older, but it's still a real way that we do zero trust authentication and stuff. And then this week is the security recap. So anyways, my point in this is what the course did, right? And the goal was to get you guys on, seeing what's out there, maybe understanding what was going on, and then kind of moving from there. Okay, anyway, so then Unit 1, right? And then we're going to go and here was the things that we did in Unit 1. So here was the theory. Here was the practical application. And then here is me talking about it a little bit, things that we did, and then aligning it with the industry. So security versus perception versus reality. We've talked about this a lot. And then summarizing it down to where it fits into these key pieces, right? These are the things from Unit 1, okay? And those tie directly back, again, to the Security Plus type cert, right? And then, so this is what we're going over today in Unit 10 of the Security Engineering course. Unit 2 looks like this then. Securing the network connection theory were these things. These were the theoretical things that we went over, like things you can read about and go, that's interesting, I'm going to forget it. And then the practical application were the things we touched and did, right? And then here's how it applies back. And just, again, my first discussion for this post this week with you guys is go in here and look at all these things and say, oh, I don't remember us ever talking about extensible authentication protocol. I better go read on that. So this gives you all kinds of things to go spend many, many hours with, right? So there you go. Lit 301, thanks for the subscription. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Trying to make stuff that makes you guys better engineers and admins and such. So then more aligning with the industry. Just so many buzzwords and key terms. I mean, Security Plus is largely, and Robodom has Security Plus, so he could tell you this. It's largely a glossary thing. You just need to know all of these terms. And then if you know these terms and can define the difference between digital loss prevention and intrusion detection system, then you can answer some of those questions more easily that they're going to come at you with, right? Then Unit 3, and this is, we talked about trusting a system, pluggable authentication module, and understanding what PAM is doing inside your system, how we used to have a model where anybody could access things directly and validate, but now only PAM can do that, right? All of our systems talk to PAM, and PAM goes and checks on our behalf and all that stuff. User creation. And then our practical, so that was theory stuff. Practical was we did some changes around PAM integration with Secure Shell daemon, right? That's our SSH daemon on the system that allows connections in. We did the PAM STIGs inside of the STIG viewer. I can open, I closed it down, but that STIG viewer has a bunch of pluggable authentication module type things, right? And then created open LDAP implementation and connected it via SSD. So we actually set that up and communicated with itself. Fighting Rooster said you got knowledge and you like Linux more. Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding like a Chad here, I think I'm a better channel for Linux than I am networking. There's definitely, that's what I do is Linux all day, every day. But that being said, I still enjoy networking, and I enjoy it kind of at the side and maybe orthogonal to my normal engineering stuff. I'm still called on often to do security and networking things, even though they're not directly what I do, right? I still program routers and switches in high-performance compute environments if people need me to. Pretty much I do whatever my company needs me to, which is, by the way, a good way to endear yourself to a company where they'll keep you around. But okay. So these were the topics for Unit 3, right? And then here's the alignment to the industry, the things that are happening with identity and access management as far as Security Plus goes. So if you needed to understand what attestation was, you could go and figure that out, right? What is a mandatory access control versus a discretionary access control, and why might we use one or the other? And I didn't, there were a lot of these things. Again, I said at the beginning, my goal was not to do this right here. My goal was not to align you to any one cert. So this course, if you did all the security engineering stuff, I do. So the Fighting Rooster, I don't do offensive work anymore. I did that for a little while at a company called AAA. By the way, if anybody needs the course stuff, the syllabus is here. It's all free. I'll just link this to you guys. Boom. This stuff's all free. So are the other courses, right? So are the security, the automation course. There's the admin course. And then also the automation course. These are all free. The automation course is still being built. We're working on that. But anyways, the point is not to align you guys to any one thing. Unit 4, one of my favorite theory and practical things that we do is jailing, bastions, air gap systems, controlling ingress and egress, and stopping unauthorized exfiltration, pulling data out that you shouldn't. TS84 said, hey, thanks for the links you gave me this week in Discord. Had my systems engineering interview yesterday. Went really well. Hoping to hear back. Nice. Awesome. That would, I tell you guys all the time, that's the goal, getting people into this. So that's, I'll I always joke around about like Dear Diary today, whoever did this. So TS, yeah, Kings to You, right? Kings to You is it's actually fun. I think it's funny when I say that to people because one, it is a really awesome thing because then you say, well, what's Kings to You? It means you're king for a day, right? We toss the king piece to you from the chessboard and say Kings to You. But it's funny to me when I say that to people because if you know the story of Edmond Dantes, he's immediately betrayed by the person who said that to him. So in the Count of Monte Cristo, his friend who he says that with, they go back and forth. So it's kind of funny. Let's say I'm complete beginner when it comes to Linux future, but I have a job as a Linux engineer. Took self-assessment and feel I would be interested in that field. Nice. Well, Lit 301, I would tell you should definitely. Oh, Fighting Roost said I should put up a buy me a beer link. That's funny. I tell people just participate in the group, and that tends to be enough. Although some people have found my book and know how to buy my book if they want. That thing's like $20, but you don't have to do any of that stuff. I tell you guys all the time, you guys don't have to do any of this stuff. Really, just hanging out and helping the next group behind you is the big thing. I'm gonna link this just because it was mentioned. For Lit, you said you're a complete beginner. Here's the link to the admin course. And the admin course differs from the security engineering course in that this is the admin side of things. It's the bare minimum stuff, I think, this is me, that you need to do to work on like a Linux administration team. So this is lower than engineering work. It's more beginner. But it's like getting into a Linux box, touching VI Vim, like understanding the command line, setting up some storage, running the system, securing the system with the users, securing with firewall. But this is not a build and design thing like the security engineering courses. Security engineering course, we're implementing all these things. Here, we're more looking at them and changing some configurations and stuff. We do still do some patching. We got to understand that. Maybe some scripting and knowing how to check a system. And then operating environments that your company's going to want. Like your company wants to run Docker and K3s, so you need to know how to do that, right? Yeah. And then engineering. This is by the way, if anybody wants this is the Lean Pub. This is the big book of I'll link this if anybody wants it, but you guys don't, nobody has to do that. That's for people like if you've done all of the Killer Coda labs and then you say I want to dig in more. That's what that is. It's kind of like a journal of the stuff, but nobody has to do that. And then because as administrators we still have to know system baselining and benchmarking and system hardening and Ansible automation, which kind of builds off of scripting, right? Because Ansible is like the next logical jump, and this is where I've spent a lot of my career getting good, and people always come to me for automation type stuff. And then troubleshooting. How do engineers troubleshoot things? Troubleshooting is its own skill, and you need to know how to do that as both an admin and an engineer. And then incident response, right? An actual incident call out and information gathering, and we did some practices in the labs with that kind of stuff for you guys. So that was that course, right? But back over here on the security engineering course, right? We're doing Unit 4, we're talking through it. This is the things I'm going to talk through later. What does it mean to jail a user or a process? What are bastions in that concept? How do they allow air-gapped systems to allow users in or out? And then how do we control ingress and egress, which is the flow of data? Data are flowing in or out of our systems. And then how do we stop unauthorized exfiltration, which is the unauthorized egress or exfiltration of data? Unauthorized exfiltration is bad because people are stealing our data. We don't want that. That was the theory. There's a lot of theory here to go read about. Then the practical application of this was build a jail. We did that. Give the jailed user some basic services and commands, and then build a bastion to allow the user to pass through. Now, these come directly from the Killer Coda labs. Well, not directly, but there's a bunch of Killer Coda labs that we have, right? And in here, you can actually go down to these labs, which are in the course. These labs are all free, guys. Nobody ever charges you anything, unless you ask Fisherman, and then he charges you. But building a chroot jail and then building a bastion node. So I could drop in on the bastion node here, and then like I have a drawing in this one. Some of them have drawings, some of them don't. One of these days, maybe we'll go back and add more drawings. But this is, we can open the image in a new tab, and this is what this looks like. You're on a system, you're going to SSH in, and you're going to be jailed by the SSH process. and then you're going to be moved in a simulated air gap over into a control plane. So you're going back over here. It's kind of a silly exercise, but in when you conceptually think about it, you're moving from an outside system in through a bastion node into a controlled environment, right? And that's kind of what we did in that course. And we allowed the user to pass through to resources beyond and into an air gap system. Air gapped is typically a network. It is the end of like a network. And then you have to jump to another network through a system and through a process outside of the TCP/IP layer. So there's no TCP/IP connection between the systems. And so people sometimes ask about that. They're like, well, it's not really air gapped because you can get to it. And I say, yeah, but it kind of is, because if you look at it like this, right, it's this idea right here. Cage. Do you guys all remember Magneto at the very end of the very first movie that came out for the X-Men? Well, there were movies before it, obviously, but there was the one that had what's his name in it? If you guys have ever seen Magneto in his cage of glass, right? This is at the end of that movie, and they basically have him out like this. Open image and new tab. If you guys have never seen this, this is kind of what that looks like. And there's no metal anywhere around him, because if he's got metal around him, he can kill you. Yeah, it's Ian McKellen, yeah. This is what an air gap system is. If I take this away, this connection in, there's no way to get over there via a normal. You do mean Sir Ian, yes. You put the respect on his name, RESPCTA, right? Restekpa. Does anybody know what that is? Does anybody remember that movie? Like, I swear, you know, when I look at it and the movie's 20 years old, I'm like, God, nobody knows what I'm talking about. There was a guy, Ollie G. He's a character made by the same guy who did, he did Borat, if you guys know who Borat is. But that same dude, he did this character, Ollie G, who was like this wannabe white gangster from England. It's funniest freaking movies. But he's in front of their parliament talking about, he's trying to spell respect. They need to respect each other. And he spells it RES, like PCTA. And he goes, do you all know what that means? And one of the guy raises his hand and goes, Restekpa? And he's like, yeah, exactly, Restekpa. You guys need to Restekpa each other. Anyways, that's fucking funny. And it's the most ridiculous, stupidest movie you've ever seen. But it's kind of got like a... It was popular at the time, and then now I'm sure there's some cult following. But anyways, the point is, this is how an air gap system works. I know I'm going far afield. And then you can build it if you wanted to, and you can see what the process of jailing a system might be. I got to get back to my dissertation stuff here in a little bit, but I'm just kind of talking you guys through some of this stuff while we're sitting here. So this is what I'm going to do, you know, in a few hours here. What is it, about 5 hours from now when we meet for the security engineering group, and we're going to talk about, yeah. So this is aligning with the industry. This is a common network boundary diagram that I might give, and this is actually not for a real customer. I have stripped this out of any customer information, but this is exactly what it might look like. Some external gateway switch. You can connect this into somebody else's. I could even have a little drawing over here, and this would be customer network over here. They get into the gateway switch. They can hit from the gateway switch on the front end, the web application firewall, the AI ML, the data valet nodes. Maybe they can even hit the compute nodes or the head nodes. But now this is where your normal TCP/IP connections end, is at any of these nodes. You have to be able to get through with either something inside of the web application firewall or any of these nodes that allow you in to then touch this back network. This back network is all of the ways that they communicate. This is what we call typically the management network. This is 10 gigabit Ethernet everywhere. And then these devices that can go back into the storage, they hit all the storage over InfiniBand, which is typically either 4x100 or 4x200 links. So some of them have up to 800 gigabit per second connections. And then some of them even have multiple. Some of the Weka nodes have 10 of those connections. So they're pumping much faster. So the Weka nodes are back here. They're the back-end storage. So Weka is a specific storage model. If you guys need a WEKA. Weka. And I've shown you guys that kind of stuff. All right, so anyways, so then Unit 5 is topics. We talked about package integrity, trust, and where we get our repositories and our packages from. And then the practical application was building a bunch of that, right? Because theory is cool, but theory doesn't land you the job. Practical application is good because it gets you some kind of alignment with what the actual tasks are. This is kind of the crawling, the walking, and then as we align it over here further and talk about it and talk about where it fits into actually doing it for a business, that is to me like the running. That is because the company wants you to be able to do stuff for the company, right? The company wants you to be able to do stuff of some type of value or whatever. All right, and then patching in the enterprise, we talked about that. Aligning with the industry is kind of some of the ways that we deal with data asset management and good hardware, software. You need to have proper inventories to be able to do anything correctly in the systems world. So being able to inventory and then enumerate through your systems is important to be able to patch them and keep them updated and that kind of stuff. So then there's some other stuff in here. Threats and why we patch and all that kind of stuff. Validation that we've remediated stuff. Like we've moved to a newer version of the kernel so we can rescan and see that the older vulnerabilities aren't there. That kind of stuff. Unit 6 is going to go into the logs and how we use logs, how they work and stuff. Bunch of theory stuff to talk about. And then practical, there was some labs that we did, sending logs around inside of the environment. And then here's some of the different ways that the structures of logs work. And then system D. And then we align that with the industry. Why might we do things the way we do? How do we send SNMP traps around network devices? Send those as well, but we can capture them and then see what's going on in the environment. All right, Unit 7, time series databases and alerting. How do we do alerts and send alerts? Practical application is where those things exist. So we did in our practical application, we used fail to ban to lock users out of a system, and then we tracked the logs and sent alerts into Discord when people were doing shit they shouldn't. So that's kind of funny, right? Aligning with the industry, here's log data and data sources. And then Unit 8 was configuration drift management. So how do configuration management databases work, and how do they kind of apply to all of this? And then our practical stuff was applying AID, the Advanced Intrusion Detection Environment, as a kind of file integrity and like a tripwire check on our system to track changes. And we looked at that. Then a little bit of an overview of how we do system builds and what a build book and a run book is, and kind of my thoughts on how we do these things. And then how we deploy systems. This is a model that I use often to show you guys. Someone requests a server in some way. It does not matter. This is a button being mashed. Like you guys seen that stupid little lizard. The little lizard keeps smashing the button when it sees a lizard, and it keeps going lizard. That's what this is. This is somebody pushing a button, and then our build process starts, what was already baked in and what had to be built on the fly, or personalization or user space or whatever we want to call it, and then a checkout with the word typically spelled wrong. I've left that in there because whatever. That meme died out pretty fast. I still use it, Robodom. That lizard one is funny as shit to me. Aligning with the industry, right? So these are things that we talk about. 9 was certificate and key madness, and we just talked about. Wait, does this one have? Oh, this does have our theory. Okay, theory and practical, and then aligning. So this is what we're going to review later, and we're just going to go further in. Some of these topics are going to be built in the future of security engineering. And you go, wait a minute, Scott, this is the second time going through security engineering. You're still going to add something later? Yes, I am. I'm still going to add some stuff to this. So, all right. So that's that. If you guys, are wondering like what we're doing later today, that's part of it. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll save this. And then I'll just leave this up because this is the talk for later in Unit 3. So that's about 4.5 hours from now or so we're going to do that. So what am I doing then? So you say, Scott, what are you doing? You're sitting around here, you're working on stuff. I have a bunch of things that I need to add or work on or otherwise pull into my dissertation. I'm not going to have time to do it later because obviously we're doing a big party. I'll show you guys one other thing. Krampus. I think I might have an off topic. Did I show you guys what was going on with the wife did a pretty good job of doing all of our No, this was our Thanksgiving stuff. Maybe I didn't. Did I not post for you guys the? Maybe I did sports and outdoors. Ah, yeah. So the wife did a pretty good job. Here's our upstairs landing. We have 3 Christmas trees in the house. This is one of them on the upstairs by the bookcase, right? All the book stuff. If you guys want to go look at what books I have, all my old college books. Some fun fact, I never sold any of my college books back, guys. I have every single one of them ever. So this is upstairs, on the upstairs landing. And then this is the downstairs. This is a 12-foot one. She also told me this picture, guys, I'm pretty colorblind, but she told me this looks very pink. This is not a very pink tree. This is normal. This is actually all the normal colors of a Christmas tree right here. But maybe just the exposure or something, I don't know. This is our downstairs 12-foot tree. And then this is in the room. This is where people sit for the party. So this is all the party decorations. It's not super cleaned up, but we get a lot of people in here. And this is the other tree. So that's the other tree. And then this is where Ranger used to lay over here. And then Ranger Cam used to always be on Ranger. And then we used to always have a Ranger one in the middle here for stockings, but first year without Ranger, so. And then this is the making spirit. The wife makes a bunch of these, so we have a bunch of these different every different event. So she makes a bunch of these. This is the front door. Let it snow, and I had to explain to the wife why let it is always on 2 different lines. Because you guys know what happens if you have let it snow all on one, right? And then we have that. Normally this says welcome friends. And then this is just a different one that we put up for Christmas. And then this is outside. And then this is the front of the house from the outside. There's the Christmas tree in there. And then the kids are going to be, so for today for the party, the truck will be right here out in front. And the kids will be doing chalk all here, and we'll be riding the drift trikes out of over here. That's why, Robodom. I typed it out. People will move it around and say "let tits now." That's what they'll do. Instead of "let it snow." All right. So the bot's welcoming people to the server. That's why, Robodom. So what are we doing? We are looking for more stuff to add in for my. Currently, I'm working on what's called the IRB, which deals with the things that are. Fisherman Guy Bro gave you guys the Discord. That's awesome. 1, 2. Normally it's Robodom that does that. So there's a Discord if anybody needs it. Yeah, Robodom, we can't have any nice things. Guys, I got to plan on what I'm going to do with my Proxmox too. I got a Proxmox server up. I've got it extended so it can be deployed and do all of my werewolf stuff. Man, we haven't even talked about werewolf on stream here for a while. I might still be, apparently, I might still be talking at scale. I haven't actually heard back from them. Somebody's too busy playing Arc Raiders. Speaking of, I'll show you guys something fun. I was actually thinking as I was messing around here, this game, Fisherman got me to play this game. I think maybe last week I started it. And it's been a major time waster for me. I should not have started playing this stupid game. But I'm still getting some stuff done. I'm not getting enough on my dissertation done, but this one's pretty fun. Let's see. Be sure it's not behind anything. Have you guys seen this one? This game is super fun, but also super frustrating. Also, I have quite a few, Fisherman, you might like this. I got quite a few breaking mechanics to this game that are kind of a little bit over the top. Iceco HDZ followed the channel. Thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Fisherman, that is also still to this day one of the most disturbing. Also, you guys want to see something that's kind of funny? Hold on, look at this. So the guys did a little conference recently, and where is this? They sent me in their certification. No, conferences down here. This is what the guys think that I look like. This ain't appropriate. This isn't appropriate at all. They said it's the same height as me, too. And I'm like, guys, I'm 5'11". I'm taller than probably half of these midgets over here. They think the server thinks that I'm this guy. Apparently. Yeah, taking this time to remind everyone I'm 5'11", which is well above the average American height. Anyways. All right. Get that out of the way there. Do we want to play around to this? We can play around to this. This game's pretty fun. 5'11" is not super tall, but is still above average. I've never played this character. I just got him last night. But all these mean that I've beat it on level 5. And then I was telling the wife I've got to get my characters, like some of them I just kind of quit, but you have to try to get them above level 30. You got to beat level 30. Because if you don't beat level 30, then you don't unlock one of these guys. You've got to beat, what is it? One of these things to get it. You have to beat multiple characters on level 5. So we play this a little bit too. I'm not defensive about it. I don't care. I don't think 5'11" short. I have a fair amount of friends. Like I actually have some friends that are like 6'3", 6'4" from wrestling, that they have a short people are not allowed club. And it's kind of funny. And I remember one time we went and saw the second of the Hobbit movies. This is the first of the Hobbit movies. No, it was the second one. It was for sure the second one. And I remember walking outside and I didn't realize it when we were all sitting down, but like everybody that was with me there was like above probably 6'3". And I was like, wait a minute, you guys invited me? And they're like, yeah, you're cool. But they only let me go because I wrestle with them. So they would not normally have invited a shorter person. All right. Let's see what this one allows me to do. So this guy gets RNG, right? Random number generator. That's kind of funny name. In case you guys don't know the lore of this game, if we do play a little bit, the game here is that... Oh, Fisherman, this game is definitely... I have two ways in which I've completely broken this game. And I'm going to show you guys one of them here in a second, I think, with this guy. It depends what I can start with. There's two ways in which I have this game broken, Fisherman, where I will always win. One is if I can get a hold of the... One is if I can get a hold of golden hammers. If I can have all golden hammers, I win. That's it. That's all there is to it. And if I can get picks, so from shovels, you can sometimes move into picks. I will ignore the characters on the screen. The monsters won't even matter anymore. I will just run around and pick and extract mining as fast as I can, completely ignoring what the game is about, and I will still win. So that's those are two broken things that I've been able to find or break in this game. Let's see how this works. So this guy, this has an extraction, but it doesn't guarantee that I get mining. So this is also quite choppy right now. Why is this so choppy? Oh, is this still early access? Well, that makes a lot of sense then. If this is still early access. Let me make this, I'm going to move this over a little bit. So it's not right in my eyesight. And then there, good. Yeah, I didn't realize this was still early access because I actually broke something else the other day too. Also, if you've ever seen, there is some broken things, Fisherman. If you buy, there's this one item that makes you lose an arm. Like you lose an attack. They call them attacks in this, not arm. And you can lose the attack, but you keep the attack. You just can't upgrade it anymore. So like, let's say you have 6 and you sell it, so you get only 5. It doesn't take away the gun in that hand, and it still works unless you modify it. All right, so this is melee, so we're going to go with that. And then let's get a whole bunch of them. Now, once I can pivot over into pickaxes, the game's done. The game's completely done because once I can get all pickaxes, I don't even care what the monsters are doing. So the monsters are noobs; they're good guys. They're just trying to kill me as the boss to the dungeon, right? That's the lore of the game. If anybody cares. But I'm gonna when you guys see me get the pickaxe, you're just gonna see me start ignoring everything going on the screen, and I'm just gonna be running around and looting as fast as I can. Especially when I get full pickaxes, I'll just be running around. I won't even care what's going on with the characters anymore. It's like, it's dumb. Don't want it. Garbage. Speed. We're going to need speed for this exercise and running around we're about to start doing. Nope, don't want none of that crap. Don't want none of that crap. The Glaciers are also awesome because they freeze people, and if you get 6 of those, you'll just beat the shit out of everything, and it'll just be a bunch of ice sculptures everywhere. So that's good. Nope, we want all pickaxes. Yep. We're going to fill our thing with pickaxes, and you'll see why here on this next level. These guys are going to generate every 13 seconds an ore thing, so 2 of them will pop up immediately, and I am no longer going to care about what's going on with the monsters. Like, I'm not trying to kill monsters. I'm literally just running around and collecting loot now. Yep. The monsters, they only die if they get, like, directly in my way. Otherwise, I don't care about them one bit. I'm literally just going to loot. And this is the model that will beat the game all the way through level 20. I probably won't bore everybody with the whole game here, but suffice it to say, like, I don't even care what's going on the screen anymore, except to dodge like a few stupid things. Now I'm just looting. There is auto aim. Yeah, I'm not aiming at all. Take that. These aren't affected by any of these, so I don't want them. What I want, I'll take dodge. Sure. I want speed, and health regen will also be good, but we'll take speed for now. Typically, I wouldn't take a shovel, but we'll take it for now. Really, the goal is just to get a whole bunch. We'll take golden souls, more speed. We just want more of these pickaxes now, which will start to show up because the game kind of like it kind of like seeds whatever probability for the items that you have. It basically favors the items that you've already taken. So we'll see more of these going forward. But again, I really don't care what the monsters are doing. I'm only going to loot. Because, you know, monsters or noobs, whatever you want to call them. I really only care about more of those things popping up. I literally don't care about what those guys are doing. Just want to loot. And when you do that, it completely breaks the game. We'll take, on this one, we'll take range. I want range. I don't want any of this garbage. I really don't need more shovels. So we do want this because they'll make things move faster. Want more XP, that's fine. We want the pickaxe. Good, 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 good. And then we're going to collapse in the shovels to get them out of the way as we need them. We'll go ahead and do orbit because it's more damage, and then things will start spinning around me, which doesn't really matter, but we'll do it for fun. All right. By the way, yeah, if you guys have questions about system stuff or, you know, just want to know what's going on, feel free to ask or let me know. Let me make sure that's still working right. Yeah, okay. Also on the top left, Socratic Linux is going, so if you guys want to ask yourselves questions and say, hey, do I know how this stuff works, you can do that as well. Okay. Yep. Now, again, we literally just don't care about what the creatures are doing. We don't even care what the bosses are doing. We're just going to run around and loot as fast as we can. It'll be more pronounced. When I have a few more of these pickaxes, what I'm doing is going to be even more obvious. Right now, it's kind of just looks like I'm running away from everybody. But really, all I'm doing is literally only caring about the loot. And then the other rule is don't die. So I've been hit twice. I need to get some health here in a second. Yeah, that's why I need regen, is because I'm just avoiding things and trying to regen. So yeah, I don't have minions, but I'll do that. We'll take damage. Take more damage. More chests. And then more souls. Souls are what give me money, basically. Yeah, it's okay. This is like a lightweight version. This is the same guys that did Brotato. So it's pretty good. We'll take this for less dodge, but more actual hit points. And we'll just go to the next level. Alright. Again, don't care. Don't care. You guys are all just invading my little boss room. So the other part of the lore is you're basically controlling your boss room, and the noobs are showing up, you know, as noobs to try to kill you. And again, I really just don't even care what they're doing. I'm just mining in my boss room as fast as I can. I don't even care to stand with them and fight them or argue with them or nothing. I'm just going to avoid them and grab all the loot. Yep. Not trying to kill them. Not trying to do nothing but grab loot. What's the plan after Christmas? We'll get back around to heavily working on the automation course. We're going to finish that up. I do want this because it's got armor, so that's good. But we're gonna do the automation course, get that finished up. We always want this one's good because they'll always sell an attack, so we can get rid of these other stupid things. Actually, I might even merge these now so that it wants to give me an attack. And then long arm will be range and damage, so that's good too. We want range. We want to hit these things from as far as possible. But yeah, Akshunya, the goal will be then to come back strong. I'll have about a year left on my dissertation. I just got to kind of finish these classes and keep writing, and then I will turn around and get the automation course done. And then I think Akshunya, in the new year, instead of us releasing big, what we've done this year and in previous years was kind of release these big courses over time. What I might do, because I think this other model might work better for everybody. What I'll do is these will still be our base things, right? But then for like security engineering, I never got to do, there's a component that we didn't get to do, which is, thanks for that. Best of luck with dissertation. I appreciate that. There's a component we didn't do here, which was backup and disaster recovery, right? We just didn't have time, but it's a tremendously important thing. And some of you guys know I use a tool called Bacula a lot. So what I think what I'm going to do, and this is, I'll talk with the guys that run the writer's room, but maybe we'll just leave the course as the 10 weeks, right? And then we'll add like a session as like a backup session. It'll just be called like backup intensive. And what we'll do on that day is we'll have 2 sessions, like there'll be 4-hour sessions. So maybe in the morning and at night so that people can make it. We'll release it. I'll run it as like a little bit of a lecture, and then we'll do labs together so you guys can work together on labs. We'll come back together, talk about the stuff, and then we'll move on to like the next part, do it to whatever. And then you guys will get basically the lecture, the project, like you'll do the labs and stuff together as like a academic group, if you will. And then you'll also be done. And then probably what I'll do is I'll give a little bit of a project for you guys to work on. And then when you're done, then I'll do some kind of like certificate for you guys having shown up for 4 hours of training with Prolog or whatever. Lit said, should I select a topic for my project now while I got through this? Yeah. You should actually absolutely pick a sysadmin topic. If you haven't picked one yet, people do all kinds of stuff. They do Kubernetes deployments because that's what they focus. No, Akshunya, it won't be speed running. What it'll be is like, you know how each one of these was like a 1-hour lecture, maybe a 1.5-hour lecture, and then you guys worked all week? Well, that's cool, but maybe I think this might be a model that you guys like too, where this will still be a course, right? This will always be there. This is on YouTube. This is a recorded security engineering 10 weeks, right? But I never got to touch like business continuity and disaster recovery planning. So maybe what we would do is we would start with like a fictitious company. I would explain to you guys what business continuity plans are and then how that ties in with planning for disaster recovery. And then what we would do is we would come in here, we would do a business continuity plan, and like we would talk, and then we would do that, maybe take like a little break. People could work together, right? I would probably break you guys up into groups. You guys would stay in the Discord and talk for a little bit, working on that as like an intensive. And then we would come back together and we go, okay, we've got our business continuity stuff. Does anybody want to show it? If not, that's cool, whatever. And then it'll almost be like a little 4-hour workshop. That's kind of the way I think I want to do this going forward. Because then you guys could, so we'll plan it all out and we'll say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Here's the next part. We're going to build out our Bacula tool. So Bacula will have some labs. I already got those all planned out. And then you'll go into like Killer Codet, and you could do this as a group with everybody. And you guys would set up, I would prefer if everybody did their own so they feel really comfortable about it. But again, working in groups with people, you'd set up your Bacula, you'd set up your disaster recovery plans based on your business continuity and how much your return to operations and recovery point objectives were that you had defined, right? So then when we were done with that, we'd come back together, and and this would be like 3 hours into the little intensive or whatever. And then I'd say, okay, guys, you've done this, you've done that. We've talked through the pieces. You've built some Bacula, this and this and this. Here is an actual one, let's say from a company, and I'd have some fictitious company. And then you guys would have, let's say, 2 days until the end of the weekend. Maybe we'd start it on like Saturday. And I'd say, okay, you have until Sunday to finish this, and then I'll put together little certificates of like, I completed the 4-hour prologue certificate of, in disaster recovery planning and business continuity. I think that would be fun, because then I would just spend basically like 8 hours that day running the morning and the night one, so that we get people from all around the country and globe or whatever. And then I would just on Sunday night, let's say, get all of the responses back from people, and then just send out all the people that had finished. I'd send them their little certificates or whatever. And then I wouldn't be also keeping track of it anymore, because like all of us have been keeping track of these. Treasure's been helping me and that kind of stuff. Anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on it. No, it won't be necessarily like a cert. It'll just be like a certificate that you did it. That's all. Yeah. No, it would be. Yeah, it's not going to be the same type of certification. All right, so you guys see how many of these little things I have popping up, and then you're going to notice here that I literally just don't even care what's going on with the enemies anymore. I'm literally just going to run around and I'm gonna dodge things. Don't get me wrong, but all I'm doing now is collecting loot. And you might say, well, you're leaving a lot of it on the ground. Yeah, but I'll be able to come back for it. There'll be more of it. See, I'll be traveling back around for it. But again, I literally don't care what the enemies are doing, because I'm just running around looting my boss room as much as I can. So this is I don't know if this is a broken mechanic or one that they intended, but for sure, it doesn't seem like the way the game was designed to be played, because I'm literally ignoring the enemy. I don't care about them at all. He'll take crit. And I want damage, but he needs regen, because I just need to stay alive. This is what I was saying. Like, if I sell this right now, so I can sell one of my attack slots. But if I was full, it wouldn't take away one of my attack slots. I would still have it. I just wouldn't be able to merge or get more. But it doesn't take away what you have. So I'm not going to take that right now, but I'm just letting you guys know that's broken for sure as a function. Take that for more of those. And sale, so things that cost less. And then we're going to take luck, because this guy gets luck bonuses. Oh, maybe he doesn't get luck bonus. Yeah, well. And we'll take soul extractor, attractor, so it keeps attracting souls. Attracting, not extracting. Oh, by the way, this guy also, he damages people when we collect loot, so we do want to get his luck up so that we do more damage. But by and large, literally don't care what the enemy is doing. We're literally just running around collecting loot as fast as we can. You might say, why are you weaving around so much? Because enemies are targeting me based on how I'm moving. So the fact that you guys see me weaving almost erratically is because those guys up there are targeting me. And they target where you're moving. So the game calculates where you're moving. It's super annoying. So you have to kind of get into like a stutter step, or you'll get your ass kicked. All right, armor, and we'll take armor, and we'll take the luck, and then man, they really need to give us more picks. There we go. All right, we'll probably even sell one of these here in a little bit, but graphic looks pretty good. Watch you play Brotato for so long. Yeah, Rodon, I played the hell out of Brotato. I have way too many hours in Brotato. But now look, since I have so many pickaxes, I'm not even going to be able to get to these things as fast as they show up. And again, largely don't care about the enemy. Just stay away from them. Don't even care what they're doing. There's a boss on level 15, and then there's going to be a boss on level 20. There'll be 2 bosses on level 20. The bosses are not that big of a deal. You can literally just run away from them and survive them. Well, you're the boss in this game, by the way. You're the boss level. So they're just annoyances, but all right. Gotta try to stay alive. I need to stay away from that guy. There's a little guy that's hopping around. He looks like a little target dummy. He's the one that's putting those circles around me, and I do not want him to do that. I don't want to die. So Otherwise, again, I'm not trying to kill anything. I'm just staying away from everybody. Then we'll go in and grab our little loot boxes. Sure. 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 And then I need... Strength is good. It'll be more damage. Take more dodge so we can not get killed. And this one's interesting right here. So this will it'll cut my life in half. So my health will become 8. But then every level I'll get +2 all the way to the end. So it's kind of a gamble. But I'd be losing 8 and getting 10 back. Sorry, I'd be getting 20 back. So it would be worth it if I know that I wasn't going to die, which level 10 is probably the last level I could do it on, because 11, you'll see 11 starts to be a real problem. So I wouldn't want to be that low on 11. Also, let's get rid of this and buy another pickaxe. So now we're going to have even more of those little things showing up. And then we'll hold on to this so we get more armor and less item price. Always good. All right, let's see if we can stay alive. Goal, stay alive. Don't die. Number 1 rule. Boom, boom. Again, like if we were playing this game the normal way, I would be trying to kill those guys and collect all their loot. But since I'm playing it in kind of this broken way, I'm literally just staying away from everybody and trying to gather all the stuff off the ground that I can. If I didn't kill a single enemy, I wouldn't care. Oh, apparently I hit a mushroom and it made me go too fast and I ran into guys. That's annoying. All right, we don't have to play that right now. That's just us wasting time because I got to work on my dissertation and I'm being lazy and I don't want to. All right, let's go to. So I've got a bunch of chapter 2 stuff, which is what's called the literature review. I've got literature review stuff to work on. Let's see, I can pull this up in front again. Hold on so I can see that. All right, there we go. I can at least see what you guys see now. And at the top left, again, the Socratic Linux is running, which asks you questions, and you just think, do I know how to do that? If you don't know how to do it, let me know, and I'll tell you guys what my thoughts are on it. But yeah, this is kind of what we're doing. Not working super hard. Let's make sure we've got this set correctly. So it's 2022 and above. Cybersecurity threats. We may do, so for some of my literature review stuff, I will be doing, sorry, drinking some water over here. So literature review stuff, I'll probably be looking at some of the survey documentation. I'll be looking at some of the NIST documentation. I have some stuff here like discuss cybersecurity overview, discuss the AAA model, discuss remote access methodologies, discuss air-gapped systems, and kind of what those look like, discuss the history of bastions, and that's not even technology. So that's bastion access in general, and then discuss the history of bastion of technology. Based bastion access, that'll be the next one. And then discuss jailed user space, what does that mean? Discuss obfuscation and honeypot theory, and then some of that stuff to kind of look at. Hack the Planet, how's it going? We're not working too hard right now. I'm just kind of looking at dissertation topics and trying to get back into the swing of things that I was doing from the other day. Trying to get this, I need to get, 30, 40 pages of this put into this IRB doc. So the IRB document is your internal review board, and the most focus of that is what type of research you're doing, and the research is in my case around bastion nodes and what kind of information we can get. I actually haven't completely etched out what the research is, but I have a lot of the theories around it set up. But I have more work to do with the actual that part of it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So then maybe another one of these is yeah, security by design. And then I'm saying that the instrument of data collection will be modeling real-world events from Bastion environments. Collecting and modeling. The instrument of data collection will be collecting and be capture of environment. So collecting, enumerating, and modeling environments. If I can spell environments correctly. There we go. Robodom said, are you planning on doing another sysadmin course? I don't know. I had thought about starting one of those in January. I don't think I set that. Let me see if I set that. I did not. I did not set that up. 16-week automation. Yeah. I haven't set that up. Robodom, we might take a little bit of a break on that. And maybe if we do start another one, maybe February, March. Yeah, maybe February or March. Yeah, I'm super busy for sure now. Super busy. But if anybody is doing the Bash study group, that should be starting soon. If any of the guys are showing up, I think. Let's make sure nobody says they're not coming. Say by the end of the year. So yeah, if security engineering finishes today, then I'll say by the end of the year for the project. That's fine. Yeah, what are we doing, guys? I don't want to say I've lost my motivation. I just think I've lost my train. Oh my gosh, yeah, off topic. Off topic gets pretty wild sometimes. There's stuff going on. Google Scholar, good site. Not typically as good as some of your, college stuff. I think I'm still logged into my college. Let's make sure. Yeah, I'm still logged in. So I can go grab any of these reading research type things that I might want. And then what I've mostly been doing for you guys that haven't been around to see the process, I use a tool called Zotero. Zotero's awesome. You can just throw notes in there and it'll make bibliographies and it'll do all kinds of useful stuff, I think. But you can then go grab information out of here later, right? It also records as much as it can about things. So as you're reading any of the systems or any of the things, like you're like, oh, this one exact honeypot thing is right here. Right here's the exact document or whatever. And then if I needed to, I can also look at the bibliography right here. So I don't think I have this. Advancing cybersecurity. Autonomous attack response. Fidelity. So this one was a totally different one even than those ones. And then we can go see what they were doing. Here's keywords. Here's figures that they're using. Oh, apparently they have this pretty locked down, but I might be able to, depending on how I originally read it, I might just be able to read this here. One of the nice things about Google Scholar is Google Scholar doesn't care if it's behind a paywall. If they have it, you can get a hold of it. Who was this one by? This one was by Spitzer. So typically you'd look for their name if their name was here. What are these guys talking about? Chinga Opa, you said date. I think today is the... Oh, the date on this one? Oh yeah, so I think the reason this one is so old, yeah, because I can't use, you're right, 2022 and above, if that's what I'm thinking. But the reason I can is this one may have been like a seminal type work. It may have been like not a groundbreaking work, but like an early or kind of thing that was fundamental to how people look at it. Maybe it introduced some things. You can get away with a few of those in a paper, in a dissertation. Typically, yeah, you can't have too many of those though. But yeah, that date is quite old, 2003. That is quite old. But sometimes you can get away with that. Now, what is this one? This one's based on a book, so we probably won't use that because, again, books kind of eat into your background and seminal type stuff. Oh, is my date messed up in Scholar? You're probably right. Oh, it's 2002 to now. I think that's to now as well. But this one is an older one that I had captured before inside of my Zotero. So my Zotero is not, I don't have a date on Zotero for sure. I probably could. I wonder if there is a date filter. Zotero does have a lot of really powerful stuff, guys. I just think they're a pretty good little tool. I like them for kind of collecting my notes. I'm also using OneNote over here just to write my stuff down and grab out. Like, I think that this might be a good drawing, right? As kind of like different ways that this is almost for like a network boundaries type stuff. I might even draw my own network boundary stuff, that kind of stuff. I got a lot of stuff to add, and then I want to send kind of like the high level, what it's going to look like over to my chair by tomorrow night, and then if I can get that over to him, then I have until my IRB has to be submitted for approval by the 19th. So as long as I got it, so that's just under 2 weeks away. But I'm really scrambling because I've filled out only 12 pages of that right now, whereas the amount of stuff that will eventually be, the IRB in itself is just the internal review board. It's not the full dissertation, but they expect most of chapter 1 and 2 to be done in air quotes. But again, I've given them a caveat at the beginning that this is mostly in various stages of rewrite, so it's not all there. But that's not what they're grading on, if you want to think of it like that. They're just approving that there's no human element, so I'm not doing any human research. If you have human research, your internal review board, your IRB is like much more complex because they have to agree that there's no ethical concerns and that you're allowing the people to understand via like the questionnaires, you're showing them, you're being honest with them about the way that you're using their data and all that stuff. And I don't have to do any of that because I'm just collecting data from my own systems. And when you collect data from your own systems, there's no ethical concerns on that, right? Like if people connect to my systems, they're at that point just a process. They're not a person. Like I'm not looking at your PII and saying, okay, this person was an Asian guy who was 6'3" and he lived in California and he was whatever. Like that kind of stuff is not the point of it, right? Like so since I'm not gathering that data and I couldn't release that data about people, I don't need to have that consideration in my research, right? There's a whole bunch of like ethical considerations for research, and you can't collect data until you've examined those through a formal process for most colleges. So in my case, I got to formally go through those. Robodom, you're from California. Or you're in California somewhere. California's a big state. That's funny. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'll probably get back to focusing on that. But for you guys that were kind of hanging out, mostly what we were doing today was we were looking at some of this. I got the Socratic stuff going on up in the top left there. I've got these different syllabus that we've written for the different courses up for people that want to review those and go through that at your leisure on your own time, that kind of stuff. You guys can do that. I think what I'm going to do though, just for now, I'm going to pop up on my little end of stream thing here. And I definitely appreciate everybody coming. What we'll do, guys, is I may be back on again later today in a little bit. For sure, we're hitting the security engineering final course. So if you guys want to come in there and hang out while I'm lecturing through that, I might pop that up on Twitch. And then if anybody wants to come and hang out while we talk through those topics, we will. And then I probably won't re-record that one because that one's already on YouTube. So I probably won't be on YouTube for that one. But yeah, we'll go from there. So, all right. I appreciate everybody coming. I will